All right, let's dive right in. If your business works with the U.S. Department of Defense in any capacity, then you absolutely need to know about CMMC. Today, we're going to break down the CMMC 2.0 Level 1 self-assessment into a simple, straightforward guide so you know exactly what you need to do to stay compliant.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basics. What exactly is Level 1? Then, we'll walk through what the self-assessment actually involves. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the 17 controls you have to meet, how to prove you're meeting them, and finally, how to score the whole thing.
Okay, let's start with the most important question, the one that kicks this whole thing off. Does your company handle Federal Contract Information, or FCI? Just think for a second about any information that's part of your contract work, stuff that's generated for the government or provided by the government.
And if your answer to that question is yes, well then this isn't optional. It's not a suggestion. The Department of Defense mandates that you are CMMC Level 1 compliant. It's a fundamental requirement for doing business. So what exactly is CMMC Level 1? The best way to think about it is as the starting line. It's the first foundational step for cybersecurity if you're a contractor in the defense world. And it's all about protecting one specific type of data. And that data, as we mentioned, is Federal Contract Information, or FCI. Now, we're not talking about top-secret military plans here. This is the everyday stuff related to your contract that just isn't meant for the public. Think of it as basic operational info that still needs a basic level of protection. You know, this chart really puts it all into perspective. When you look at the higher levels, you see these big numbers, 110-plus practices, third-party audits, government-led assessments. It's intense. But Level 1? It's designed to be manageable. We're talking about just 17 foundational practices, and you do the assessment yourself every single year.
Okay, so now that we've got a handle on what Level 1 is, let's talk about the how. How do you actually go about assessing it? This part is all about the rules of the road for doing your own self-assessment.
The key words to remember here are annual and self-assessment. This is a checkup you have to perform on your own organization every single year. And while you can, hire a consultant to help guide you, at the end of the day, the responsibility to say, yes, we are compliant is all on you.
But hold on. Before you assess a single thing, you have to do something called scoping. And honestly, this is absolutely critical. You have to draw a clear line in the sand and define what's being assessed, which computers, which file servers, what cloud services actually touch that FCI. If it processes, stores, or transmits that data, it's in scope. Seriously, if you get this wrong, your entire assessment is basically worthless. All right, now we're getting to the heart of it. This is the core of your Level 1 journey, the 17 specific controls that make up your compliance checklist.
And there it is. It's not some scary, endless list. It's 17. A very specific, very defined set of practices that are really just the basics of good cyber hygiene. Totally doable.
These 17 controls are organized into 6 main categories or domains. And they cover all the fundamentals you'd expect, right? Things like controlling who has access to what, making sure they are who they say they are, protecting physical things like laptops and servers, and of course, securing your networks and making sure your data is safe and sound.
So let's make this real. Ask yourself this question about your own company right now. Before anyone, and I mean anyone, can access your systems, do you make them prove who they are?
And that question ties directly to this control, identification and authentication. It's all about using passwords, maybe multi-factor authentication, to verify a user's identity. But here's a common trap people fall into. This doesn't just apply to laptops. It applies to every system in your scope. We're talking network switches, office printers, specialized equipment. If it's on the network and handles FCI, it needs a login.
Okay, here's another one that sounds simple, but the devil's in the details. What are you actually doing to protect your systems from stuff like viruses and malware?
This falls under System and Information Integrity. Now pay attention to that key phrase, at appropriate locations. This means it's not enough to just install some antivirus software in your computers and call it a day. A real assessment looks for a layered defense. Is your email server scanning attachments? Does your firewall have anti-malware turned on? You want multiple checkpoints to catch anything nasty. So you get the 17 controls, but how do you actually prove you're doing them? It's not enough to just say you are. You need evidence. Let's talk about the inspection method.
The official guidance gives you 3 ways to gather that evidence for your self-assessment. You can examine documents, you can interview your people, and you can test your systems. And in reality, you're probably going to use a mix of all three to get the full picture.
Examine is all about the paper trail. It's the hard evidence. Do you have a written policy that says passwords need to be complex? Great. Now, can you show me a screenshot of the system setting that actually enforces it? It's all about proving that what you say you do is actually documented.
Then there's interview, which is the human element. A policy document is great, but are your people actually following it? This is where you talk to your staff, your IT folks, maybe your office manager, and confirm that they understand their role in security and are doing the right things every day.
Okay, we are on the home stretch. You've gone through all 17 controls using those assessment methods. Now it's time to score yourself and reach that final verdict.
For every single one of those 17 controls, you have to give yourself one of 3 grades. Met means, yep, you're doing it, it's implemented. Not met means, no, it's not done. And not applicable is for those rare cases where control just generally doesn't apply to your specific setup. And this right here, this might be the most important takeaway of this whole thing. The standard is perfection. You cannot have a single not met finding on your report. To be compliant, every one of the 17 controls has to be either met or not applicable. There's no partial credit. There's no wiggle room.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Look, completing this self-assessment, checking all the boxes, it's a necessary task. You have to do it. But the real goal here isn't just about compliance, it's about actual security. So ask yourself, is this yearly exercise helping you build a genuine year-round culture of security? Because that's the question that really truly matters.